what's interesting about Scott is Scott, you had the first. So we've had millions of views by now.
Oh,
right?
I saw. I follow the podcast myself.
Yeah. So we had we just had a video that hit 1.6 million, but you were actually the first to go viral.
Yeah,
Okay.
you texted me the other day and told me I got beat out. So
Yeah, that was the first time someone beat you out. Now, we had a video that we were talking about Hooters, and we're talking about workplace discrimination.
Yeah, how do they get away with only having female servers?
Yeah. Carter, can you play that video? As a company, let's just say like Hooters. How does Hooters get around hiring only female waitresses?
Well, they actually got sued by a male who wanted to go work there. And mostly, I think he was just trying to prove a point, probably get a little settlement money too. And he won. But the thing is Hooters said, sure, come work, put on those shorts and that T-shirt and go walk around. And the guy didn't really want to do that.
How does a company... Okay, first question, Scott. Was your beard actually darker in that picture?
It was.
You got a few more grays?
I got some more grays. I got to wear some reading glasses. All kind of things that happen.
So, all right. Was it your brilliant insight, or was it just so many people Google Hooters per day? What do you think?
It was probably Hooters and the beautiful woman you put on the thumbnail instead of my face, man.
Good job to the marketing department. Yeah. All right. So, do you have any? Lots of people commented. Some of them were just crazy comments, but
I noticed somebody said, "Hey, they didn't actually win the trial, right?"
Right.
You know? And I was like, "Well, no, you're right." But I did say like they got a pretty big fair settlement. I mean, you as a trial attorney know most cases don't go to trial.
No, we love settling cases because if we settle cases, it puts more money in the client's pocket. There's less you have to spend on trial, less risk, quicker. You don't have to wait it out for a trial date and get continue. So I need to know, how much did this case settle for?
Right. And so this one, it was actually a group of guys back in 1997. So now we're talking, almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And they settled. So it wasn't one guy. I was wrong about that.
They made a class?
But it was just a group of them. But they ended up settling for $3.75 million. And they got Hooters to agree to try and hire more male servers.
Oh. Lath, can you run inflation numbers? We're going to come back to that in a second. But what's $3.7 million in 1997? I mean, a lot.
Dude, it's a lot.
It's a lot. That's when Subway was probably $1.50 for a sub, right? And you can't get out of there for under $20, right? Well, speaking of Hooters, kind of a crazy week with Hooters, right? I mean, we had a Hooters that's been open for it's worth $7 million now, by the way.
Wow.
That's good money.
Yeah.
So we had a Hooters that has been open for 25 years. I cannot count the times that I've been in that location, when I was a kid, right? Eating 20-piece wings.
My mom used to bring me to Hooters all the time.
Yeah, they have good wings.
She used to bring me back T-shirts from Hooters when she went visit them.
So it was definitely was a staple in the Lafayette area for a long time.
Yeah.
I wasn't around when it first opened, right? I wasn't. My eyes weren't open to Hooters when it first opened 25 years ago.
Right.
But anyway, it's been a signature of the restaurant scene for 25 years. And what happened this week, Scott?
It got closed on January 1st. People came in to work. I mean, they literally, from what I read the article, some people were showing up to their shift and the door was locked. And there was a little sign saying, "Hey, we're closed." That's how they found out they no longer had a job.
All right. I actually had someone on TikTok that messaged me one time and asked me something very similar happened to her at her restaurant where she worked for 3 years. And she showed up to work one day and the door was locked. Okay. So her question was, is that illegal? Should restaurants give notice to the employees, the cooks, the waitresses, all the people that work there, so they have enough time to find another job?
It can be illegal. That's the thing, right? We have laws, but we've talked about that before in the last podcast. Some of these laws only apply to companies of certain sizes.
Okay.
So the federal government tends to leave the smaller mom and pops. So if that was a real small mom and pop restaurant, I would doubt that they would have had to give them any kind of notice. But we do have a federal act that is called the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, which gets shortened to WARN, which is kind of funny because that's exactly what the law is about. You should warn your employees if you're going to lay them off.
Yeah, I'm always amazed that these federal laws. They always find a cool acronym,
Right.
right? That's very fitting. Warn, right? And so that's the duty to warn the employees that there's going to be a layoff period, right?
Yeah, and there's some minor rules in there because in the name you heard too that they have to provide some kind of retraining in certain circumstances. But it generally only applies to companies with 100 or more employees.
Is that the number, 100?
100.
Okay, so Hooters it's probably a franchise, right?
Yeah,
Where it's
so it's probably that particular restaurant is the only thing we're looking at. We're not looking at the entire Hooters across the world. So
Yeah.
that one Hooters maybe didn't have 100 employees.
All right. What's your theory of why that Hooters shut down?
Well, you just said it yourself. When was the last time you went?
Been a long time.
Right. I think that's it. The culture's moved away from those kinds of restaurants to some extent.
Well, I've noticed that drinking patterns are different with
That too,
millennials, right?
for sure.
I remember sitting down at a restaurant and drinking beer out of pitchers for 3 hours, watching the ball game, eating 20-piece wings, just getting fat and drunk, right? And that doesn't happen as
I've
much
noticed
anymore.
drinking habits with Gen Xers has changed. I mean, my own friends of my age don't drink nearly as much. I quit drinking 15 years ago. So.
Yeah, same here. I quit drinking 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So drinking patterns or eating patterns too, right?
Oh, diet, man. Diet. So many people are eating so much healthier now, myself included. And so eating some fried wings with a bunch of sauce on them might not fit everybody's diet these days, right? You can't eat a bunch of Hooters and run all those marathons.
No, I couldn't. Do you think that Twin Peaks affected it as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's some competition in our city that came in after Hooters for that same style of restaurant, right? Some people call them restaurants.
That's a good name. And I think because Hooters is such an old franchise, right, it may be located in certain areas that are not as desirable as the city grows.
Yeah.
And they're not putting a new franchise on the new side.
No, we didn't have one because they were already struggling with the one they had.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that.
It's definitely interesting. I can tell you the one in Katy, Texas is very robust. And part of that is we play golf, right, at 7 a.m. and then go there at 10:30.
Right.
And then my uncle walks in and he's like the mayor of town. And, they just all love him. And he buys everything for everyone in the entire restaurant. And, it's not as it has nothing to do with like the objectification, right? It's really changed to be just a nice social place that you can go and have a couple beers and watch the game and eat some cheap food. Right?
And our restaurant was 25 years old and it hadn't been updated a lot. So, probably maybe some newer Hooters or more bigger TVs, all those things that people are looking for when they go out because it's, usually a social time.
Yeah. Another question that I want to get to, Scott, is that things are coming up in the workplace about marijuana, right? And so you have a trend overall through the country of legalization of marijuana, right?
Yes.
So do you know how many states are legalized, or at least you can get it with a prescription?
If you can, just getting medical marijuana, you're only got 6 states that have completely banned marijuana at all.